And today our topic for the discussion is managing stress and building mental strength.
Yes.
And to discuss this topic with us, we have a wonderful person in our studio. That is Suma Rao. She is the head and CEO of ThePeoplecraft. It's an HR and training firm. She's also the founder member of Learning and Development Global Hyderabad Chapter. She is very, very keen in sharing her ideas through learning and development. And she loves to interact with young people in schools and colleges. She's also got a charitable organization running for her. And she's very, very enthusiastic about this whole aspect of training.
Yes.
So with a big round of applause, let's welcome her and ask her a few questions and let us also know as to how she's excited about this whole concept of UnBox. So big round of applause for you, Suma.
For me too. Yes. And to everybody who's listening to us.
Absolutely. Welcome audience.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, Riaz, you had asked me how I'm associated. Actually, Unbox was a result of possibly, a lot of angst that I had, and that resonated with quite a few other members of our L&D fraternity. And the angst arose from the fact that last year, during the intermediate examination results, there's a big fiasco. And a lot of students, young people who's had everything going in their life, they committed suicide. And partly because they didn't know what to do about it, the results that is, and partly because they thought that was the end of the world. So I really felt very bad about it. I was very deeply affected. And when we were discussing in our L&D forum, we realized that a lot of other people also thought in the similar way, and all of us wanted to get together and do something to reach out to the young people, because I firmly believe that committing suicide or giving up on your life is not a solution for anything. And any issue that might arise in life, there's always a solution. So you should never give up on the fact that there is a solution that you can look forward to. So that's how Unbox had started off. We wanted to reach out to schools and colleges because that's where all the impressionable minds are. And we all understand in our country how crucial the 10th grade and the 12th grade or the intermediate exams are. So that's how we started off, very humbly. And the very name Unbox also was, it's a lot of churning of ideas and a lot of things happened. There's a lot of back and forth and discussions and everything. And we realized Unbox was something that resonated with the thought, because each and every individual has a lot of potential. It's just that, our conditioning or our environment or whatever, it makes us blind to what we actually have in terms of our skills or our talent. So we wanted to tell the students or the youngsters, there's a lot of potential in you. Just unbox it. So that's how the name also came along. And that's how I've been associated. And I feel very strongly about it. And it's a very emotional connect for me with the Unbox.
Fantastic. So when we say unbox, what we are trying to do is unbox your power, unbox your potential,
Yes.
unbox your passion, and unbox your performance. And we have a few more people joining in. Amruta, Rahul is already there. Hriday, Shopna, hi to everybody who's out there. And we're looking forward to a wonderful session. So, Suma, can you just very briefly touch upon what can the audience gain from today's session?
Okay. Although the session is titled Managing Stress and Building Mental Strength, like we said, it's a series of conversations that will eventually lead to building that emotional and mental strength. But as a first step towards it, today we're going to be touching upon this topic called self-esteem. Because stress is partly internal and very often it is external. The triggers are external. So, how do we deal with that? So, if we want to keep our external stress at bay, we need to have a positive self esteem. We need to feel good about ourselves. So, that's what we'll be talking about. And I will be giving at least 5 takeaways in terms of how you can improve your self esteem so that you become a little immune to all the negativity that's floating around you.
Fantastic. So the topic which we have is managing stress. And usually we tend to keep looking at the part of stress. But the real point is that if you want the stress to go away, what do you want to replace that with? That is the real issue.
Yeah,
so in
absolutely.
the bucket of life, in the bucket in our mind or a bucket of our life, if we remove the stress and then put what? So here we have Suma, who's going to talk about this interesting topic called building self-esteem. And when we build our self-esteem, automatically it's a kind of a vaccination or inoculation against all kinds of pressures and stresses. Isn't
Right.
that? So that's
Absolutely.
what we are trying to do. Okay.
Yes.
So we have some more people joining in. Hi, Sunita. Right. Sunita Lawrence is also associated with us.
Awesome. Yes.
Fantastic. So can you just throw some light on what kind of stress actually is there in our society, or more on the students? That's where I think that's real our focus is. What kind of stresses are
Right.
they undergoing, feeling, or facing?
Right. Like I had earlier also said, Riyaz, stress can be internal and external. So right now, let's talk about external stress factors, which are triggering off a lot of other things in the youngsters. And because Unbox is more about the students, we'll focus more on them. But also we can talk about, because certain things are, they hold true even for the adults. So it just, if it resonates with them, that's also fantastic. So when you're talking about students in a society like ours or in a country like ours, I mean, like marks, getting marks in any of these milestone examinations is a big deal. So it's like, the moment they see your marks card, they have decided your future. Or rather, they have decided whether you're good enough for the future or you're not good enough for the future. I'd like to take the example of this movie called Three Idiots. I'm sure everybody's watched it. The moment the child is born, मेरा बच्चा बड़ा होके engineer बनेगा. So nobody cares what the bacha wants. Everybody has already decided for the child. And there is always constant pressure for the child to keep going towards the goal that has been set for him or her. So that itself is a big stress factor, because I may or may not resonate with it, but I've been forced to do that. So that itself gives a lot of pressure. And the second thing is possibly, whether or not I'm able to cope up with my academics. Because, like I said, academics is a big deal in a country like ours. And that becomes a big issue because, again, Sharma ji ka beta, and the comparisons that go on,
Sure.
right? I like to say कि, भला उसकी कमीज मेरे कमीज से सफेद कैसे, kind of a syndrome, the tide syndrome that we have. So
Absolutely,
that is
absolutely.
another thing that adds on to the children.
Right.
And the third thing is the peer pressure. Uh, I think we can't quite generalize it, but more often than not, the youngsters, they feel, getting gadgets or getting anything material, it seems to kind of, improve their self-esteem. They feel good about themselves through external gratification of some physical or material things. That's another thing. And obviously, there's going to be somebody who has a better stuff than you, and somebody who cannot, afford the kind of stuff that you are. But that comparison, whether I'm lacking, aspirations are always there, but then the feeling of lacking, oh my god, that person has got something which I do not have. So that kind of, makes you
Sure.
shrink within. That's another stress factor, to always want to keep up with the Joneses and, just generally do that. That also is a big factor. And another factor that I always believe in is that as parents, if there are siblings in the house, I mean, like more than one child, there's always that comparison that keeps happening. Learn
Right.
something from your brother, or look at your sister. That person is so well behaved, or that person got 100% in maths, and look at you. There's so many comparisons that go on. And I do not blame the parents, because I think we're all conditioned in a certain way. I like to believe that we're all victims of our own upbringing. We were taught in such a manner, our parents used a certain kind of a language, and we were also kind of going on with the same thing. And like I keep saying, I think it's a WhatsApp joke that goes on. In a Hamare Zamane mein, there were only three G's: Mummy Ji, Papa Ji, and Guru Ji, and they give you one, tight rack, and everything settles down. That's how we grew up. But today we can't do that. So what we do is we verbalize it. Instead of giving one with the hand, we verbalize everything. So
Right.
possibly that's another reason. And the child keeps on constantly thinking, I'm not good enough. And
Right.
with everything else, the parents themselves are saying, you're not good enough, look at your sibling, or look at your cousin, look at the bajuwala uncle's son, or whatever. So the constant comparison makes the child shrink within. And the moment you do that, or rather you start doing that, the self esteem starts dipping. That's
Right.
something that triggers off lots of other things. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So we have some more people joining in. That's Bharti Devi. You know her. She's a nice, wonderful, inspirational lady.
Yes, I know her too. She's quite
Oh,
inspiring.
lovely,
Yes.
lovely.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that because the system pushes our self-esteem down, uh, maybe that's at the school, in the environment, at the home, people keep telling us you're not good enough. So even if you're
Yes.
99%, they say that you're not good enough. You lost 1%. So even if a
Yeah.
child rushes home with so much of excitement, Dad, I got 99.5%. So instead of patting him on the back, he'll say, "Wo 0.5% kahan gaya?" So
Exactly.
we never feel good enough. As a result, our self-esteem goes down. And
Yes.
when our self-esteem goes down, it's like our emotional immunity is going down, and we are vulnerable to any kind of pressure, stress. Somebody at that point says something, and then obviously we feel hurt. So
Yes.
can you just, in very short, define what is self-esteem so that we know exactly what you mean when you say self-esteem? Because people have got different thoughts and ideas about self-esteem.
Yeah. So when you say self-esteem, and there's another word also which is used, self-worth. There's a very thin line between the two, but I feel that they both overlap. So when I say self-esteem, it is how good I feel about myself. When I look into the mirror, what am I thinking about myself? What is the self-image that I have? So that is what defines my self-esteem. Whether I feel good about myself or whether I'm feeling, because of all the other factors that are going around me, and whether I feel really little or totally incapable of doing things, or whether I'm feeling
Right.
not good enough for anything. So that will define what my thoughts are about myself and how am I
Fantastic.
projecting myself to the world. That is my self-esteem.
Fantastic. So it's not your capability. You may be a good runner, but if you feel that you're not good runner,
Yes,
obviously your performance will dip. So it is a feeling
absolutely.
about your talents. And somebody,
Yes.
let's say with a high self-esteem, he may not be a good runner, but maybe he can push
He'll
through on
be,
the
at
final
least
because
he'll
he
push
feels good
himself to
about
do
it.
it. Yes, he'll at least push himself to
Fantastic.
do something.
So,
There's always something like I can or I will. So the I
right. So
can is depending on whether or not I've got two legs and whether or not I've got the right running shoes or whatever.
super,
I
super,
will is, given the circumstances, I will do it. Right? So the
super.
can and the will. That's the
Super.
thing.
So let's do a small exercise with our audience. So let's say on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest and 0 being lowest, where do you feel your self-esteem is? You can be a student, parent, grandparent,
Hmm.
whatever. So let's see. Why don't you type in and say that, okay, I feel 7, I feel 8, I feel 10, I feel 5. Whatever it is, just a kind of a self-awareness. Maybe just do a self-check,
Yeah.
and we'll also, it's not, there's no problem in whatever number you put. Of course, it's
As long
of
as
course
it's not
optional.
about 10.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's not go about 10. Let's keep it,
Nine.
cap it at 10.
Rahul says 9. That's very interesting. It can be any number.
Wonderful.
It's just a matter of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Not that there's nothing in it. It's just a self-check. Because
Yeah.
these are the kind of things we don't tend to do. We are usually, we don't do a self-check. We don't do self-awareness. And this is just a kind of a generation of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Puja, yeah. We have a few numbers, few interesting
Oh,
numbers.
cool.
Okay. Okay, let's move ahead. So while the audience is still thinking about what number to put on their self-esteem, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We're
Yeah.
just trying
Yeah.
to understand ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between somebody who's got a, just as a kind of an example, high self-esteem, low self-esteem?
Okay, high self-esteem. I feel good about myself, and when I speak to people, also they get to know with the kind of language that I use or my posture, my body language. They know that I'm feeling good about myself. Whereas when somebody is with a low self-esteem, it's a little tricky. Not everybody will be aware of it because sometimes what we do is our low self-esteem is camouflaged with humor, especially the
Okay,
self-deprecating humor. For
okay,
example, you look at somebody who's got, in the traditional sense of it, he's got everything going for him or her for that matter, very successful and good job, lot of bank balance is very high, society mein naam hai, ye hai wo hai, everything. They've got everything going for them, but then they say ki, Are yaar, I have to travel by flight now, I have to make sure that I've got get two seats adjacent to each other, ek mein to fit hona nahi hai maine. So simple things. Now, what do you get when you hear this? It's a simple question. Shall we ask the audience what do they think about it? This response.
yeah, yes.
So, what do you think? What do you think he means when he says that? मैंने फ्लाइट में जाना है, दो adjacent सीट चाहिए. I hope I get them. Do we have any responses coming?
Not yet. The audience is in deep thought, but
Uh-huh.
your question
Right.
seems to need more space. Yes.
Need
Sabina
more
says
space.
need more space.
Yes, fantastic. Any other thoughts?
So it could be like the person is feeling low or maybe not feeling too good about himself. Could be.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So see, I will, let's not wait too long for the
Yes,
responses
yes.
to come. So see, suppose somebody is saying, and like I said, on the face of it, this gentleman has got everything going for him. And then he comes and says, well, as a joke, self-deprecating humor, he comes and
Right,
says, oh, I'll
right.
need 2 seats. Which means if you look at him and if he's a little overweight, he's not feeling very comfortable about it. So that the
Yeah,
fact that he's a little overweight is really, working on his self-esteem.
right, right. It is
So
pulling his self-esteem down.
yes, it's kind of affecting me. He doesn't feel so good about himself,
Right,
despite having everything else
right,
in his life. But then
right,
there's this one factor which is kind of, not feeling, making him feel good about himself. So
right.
self-deprecating humor is most of the time a major giveaway.
So like
So the
I am
low,
dumb, I am stupid, I am this. So we
yes,
keep pushing ourselves down in
yes,
a way. We may use
yes,
it as a humor, but still the point that we are telling ourselves that we are not good enough. Okay, we have a
yes,
question
yes.
from Pooja Nair. I'm
Uh-huh.
just flashing it on the screen. It says that does self-esteem differ in different situations like professional and
Yes.
personal?
Yes, it does. It does. Self-esteem, when we say it, how do I look at myself and what do I feel about myself and everything like that. But at times, situationally, it can change. For example, somebody comes to us, we are a highly qualified person ourselves, but there is somebody else who's much better qualified. And there's always that thing about, maybe you feel a little less qualified than them or little less talented by them. In spite of everything else, at that moment, you might just feel, ki, yeah, I'm not good enough. So when you're
Right.
talking to this particular person, so that thing, that hesitation comes along, that I'm not good enough. So you're not able to openly communicate that person with that person. You tend to shrivel and shrink a little bit so that your communication is not all that open. And
But
similarly, that happens. Sorry,
right.
similarly in the personal life as well. We have people around us telling us, that maybe we're not doing certain things right, or maybe we are like this, we are like that, we don't look a certain way, or we're not capable of doing certain things. So that also affects us. Although I'm a successful professional, I feel good about myself, but also because of what these people are saying, maybe I'm not good enough. So at that moment, especially when you're interacting in this particular environment, your self-esteem tends to ebb. So that will
Right.
happen, yes. But overall, when you look at self-esteem, I feel good about myself, except in certain situations, I may not. That should not be able to affect our self-esteem.
Another point could be that let's say a child has a very very positive home atmosphere, but he goes to a school where he probably bullied or doesn't feel good enough. In
Hmm.
the long run, any negative influences, whether at home or in school, tend to rub off on each other.
Yes,
So we have
absolutely.
to solve that issue whenever we tackle it, or somebody has a positive home atmosphere, but the workplace is not very very positive, or vice
Yes,
versa. The workplace is encouraged a lot. He feels good, comes back home is not valued. So
yes,
overall, in the since the mind is the same, see our brain is the same. They say that we carry home to the office and office to the home because it's
yeah,
the same
true.
person. So the
Yes,
emotions don't switch off when you enter the home. They
yeah,
don't
they
switch off when you
overlap.
enter the
Yes,
office. They all
yes,
tend to overlap. We need to
yes,
really take care of that. So
yeah.
let's move
Uh,
ahead. You
hmm.
want to add something?
In fact, I wanted to give you my own example, Riaz.
Yes.
I'm what you would call a Madrasi. I'm a South Indian, but I was born and raised in Delhi. So I was, and I was dark skinned, which I still am, which is fine actually. Right now it is fine, but while I was growing up, it wasn't really fine. You had all these people coming and, they used to make me feel a little bad about myself. They used to come and make nasty comments and, you're so dark. And they had this thing about, you speak the Inge Pinge language because they had no other, nothing else to say. And then a major part of my childhood was spent trying to tell them I'm not a Madrasi. I come from a place called Andhra Pradesh and it's not Madras. So a lot of those kind of things happen. And for the longest time, I wanted to be invisible. Even when you went for birthday
Oh,
parties, because none of them understood, none of the adults understood what the child is going through. So you go to the birthday parties and you're reluctantly there, you're dragging your feet. You don't want to be a part of that group because they're all going to turn around and say something nasty. So till someday, while I was growing up, and one of my teachers told me, in passing, you write so beautifully, you articulate very well. I think I'm going to put you into the poetry club of Delhi. And my one of my teachers said it. And suddenly it's a revelation. Oh, really? And that's when I said, so what if I don't look like you? So what if I'm not, dripping milk from all over my complexion or whatever? So what if I'm the way I am? It doesn't matter. And so what if I speak, I said, and then I turned around. I told them, look, it doesn't really matter. I may not look like you, but I speak three languages. You speak only
Wow,
Hindi and English, but I speak three languages. So I'm way better than you are. So that was my defense mechanism. But over
fantastic.
time, I realized I was qualified in many other ways. So, it kind of, I had to tell myself to increase my self esteem. So, yeah, all of us go through those kind of things.
Yes, so I would say it's a process of self-discovery,
Yes,
self-realization. And the
yes,
earlier you realize, the better. And definitely, you need a support of people around you, maybe your teachers, parents, brothers,
yes,
siblings. And
yeah,
let's say these discussions actually help us in thinking over these issues, which we don't tend to think about. We know a lot about the nine planets or eight or whatever they are, or what is the farthest galaxy. But what is
right,
happening in our mind is something which is totally, many times we are not aware. But I think these discussions really help in bringing these issues out, and then we focus on it, creates an awareness, and then we can work towards improving it. So let's
right.
talk about the, now that we have discussed what is self-esteem and why we need to build up our self-esteem. I'm keen to know, do you have any ideas on how exactly can we build? If there is a problem, we should find a solution. If there is an issue, we should
Absolutely.
know how to, resolve it.
Yes,
How do we build self-esteem? And I think this is applicable across. It can be, although our focus area is students, but I think
right.
these emotional issues can touch upon everybody's life, whether it's a
Absolutely.
10-year-old
Absolutely.
or a 100-year-old person. So, what are,
Yes.
do you have any solutions? How do we build our self-esteem? I would like
Okay.
to know, and I'm sure our audience also would like to
Yeah.
know.
I would not say they are solutions, but there are a few things that you can do and imbibe and make a habit out of them, which will definitely help you. And first thing that I do, or rather, even today, I definitely feel very good about myself. But even then, like I think Pooja had asked the question, right? Professional and personal. Sometimes I feel a little low, and okay, maybe this is a scenario that I may not be able to handle, or things like that. But till date, I do the mirror work. So this is the first formula. Do the mirror work. You stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself that you are good. I am good. So like when I do my classroom sessions with the students, there is this movie called Sing is King. So in that Sing is King, there's a very signature dance step, like something like this. So some people say it is Che Guevara, but I don't know. I took the reference from Sing is King. So I say, okay, stand in front of the mirror and say, I am good and I can do it. And the more you say it, adrenaline keeps pumping up, and then when the endorphins are released, and then suddenly you start feeling good about yourself. So you feel like you're like, the Superman or the Avengers team member or something like that. So that's essentially to pump yourself up. So keep
Right.
on doing the mirror work, keep on telling yourself that you're good enough. And there's a flip side to this also. Do not keep on saying that I am so good that nobody else is good enough. So you're only doing it for yourself to make yourself feel good or better than what you're already feeling. So don't say, ki, I'm standing in front of the camera, I'm so much, intelligent, or I'm much intelligent than my brother or sister or sibling or whoever. You're just focusing only on yourself. Your mirror work is only for you. I am good. I am best. I am the best. So those
I'm
kind of
enough.
affirmations. I'm enough. I'm more
I'm
than
enough.
enough.
I'm
I'm
enough.
more than enough. I'm more than enough. So that's good
Right.
enough. Keep on affirming to yourself. Do the mirror work.
So this is
That's
the
one.
this is the first thing you're saying, that every day when you get up in the morning, when you stand
Yes.
in front of the mirror,
Yeah.
put some paste of self-confidence and self-esteem also, apart
Yes.
from the
Add
Colgate.
that to your toothpaste. Yes. Add that to
Add
your
that to the
toothpaste.
toothpaste, brush your teeth, and brush up your mind,
Yes.
and
Brush
clear
away the
all the,
cobwebs of low self esteem.
brush away the cobwebs. And when we do it every day, it becomes a
Yeah.
part of us.
Yes.
Right. I just connected question is of Pooja Nair. Do you think the defense of using humor brings inclusiveness and hence we use it? If it is true, then there is no harm in using this mechanism. So, what do you say
Well,
about it?
I agree with Pooja. It does bring in a sense of inclusiveness, but we're talking only contextual. When I'm
Yes.
saying, this is what it is, especially when the example that I had taken about the gentleman, if you're saying, yeah, I'll need two seats, otherwise I will not fit in it. So that's a very contextual kind of a thing. So those are
Right.
the, and when you look at that person, you know that the person is overweight. If he's a lanky man and he says, I need two because I want to, aram se spread, that's a different thing. Because see,
Right.
I could want to, especially the girls and the women, we're always constantly trying to fit ourselves into the smaller size clothes. So
Right.
we don't want to get into the bigger ones. So we're
Yeah.
constantly trying to do that. So
Yes.
I could want to do it for my own reasons, but it is all contextual.
Right.
Humor is fantastic, especially when you're trying to build rapport with somebody.
Yes.
Self-deprecating humor, contextual, yes, but any humor to build a rapport should be directed only at yourself. You should
Right.
never
So,
direct it at somebody else.
and
Yeah, but
and the point is it should not be done over and over again, because your mind
yes,
and your body cells are listening to you. So if you keep telling
absolutely.
yourself, I am dumb, I missed this, I am stupid, I did this, then after some time that's what you're going to feel. So once a
Yeah,
while it is okay. I think you should follow maybe 95 5% is what you can use self-deprecating humor. 95% of the times
yeah,
you have to tell yourself that I am amazing, I am awesome, and I'm going to take on every
really,
challenge of my life. Yeah, I think
right.
that's how it works.
Like
We have
some conversations, like people who can see me on the screen, they'll know that I am overweight. And some people would say, यार तेरे को तो कोई भी size fit नहीं आता है, something like that, I said, अपना खाती हूँ, अपने बाप का खाती हूँ, तेरा क्या जाता है? So I'm perfectly comfortable the way I am. How does it
right,
bother you? Why should it bother you? It's about
right.
me, and I'm feeling perfectly fine. I'm good enough.
Okay, we have a question from Rajnikant. I'm not able to understand the question. I'll just ask him to please repeat the question
Yeah.
in a different language. Right. And Rahul Jain says that thinking that you can do it is confidence, but thinking only you can do it is overconfidence. Absolutely, I agree
Yes,
with you. Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely
Yes.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're not the only one. I'm good,
Yes.
but if you keep saying I'm the best, I'm the only one, then of course that creates a problem.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
again could be due to lack of self-esteem. Okay, so you covered the
Yeah.
first point, that is mirror work. Let's get on to the second point. What is your second?
Okay. The second point that I would say is everybody has a talent. Everybody's endowed with some skill, right? So celebrate that uniqueness about yourself,
Wow.
whatever it is. So, for example, in our academic system, anybody who's supposed to, we're supposed to be good in biology and mathematics and physics to hell with the rest of the subjects. So, if I'm saying and it's again my personal case, I'm a dud in maths. I just cannot do math and I'm petrified of maths. But then I know that I'm very good at articulating myself, and linguistically, I'm better off than most of my peers or the guys that I know about. So I speak well. I have the better understanding of English language, and I pick up languages very quickly. 2 days of having a conversation in a language that I don't know, the third day I can actually, pick up a few words and make some decent conversation. So I celebrate my uniqueness. And I'm a very people person. To hell with maths, doesn't matter. So what if I didn't become an engineer? I mean, to the utter disappointment of people around me, I didn't become an engineer. But so what? I made something out of my life. And I use this particular skill. The fact that I get along with people, I connect with them, and I articulate myself beautifully. So that has become my profession, and that gives me immense joy. And today, in fact, Riaz, you have me on the show because I speak well, because I celebrate that uniqueness.
Wow, that's
If I
amazing.
was only talking maths, like Einstein, or I don't know, was Einstein into maths? Yeah, I think so. But
He
never
was.
mind. Like anybody else, I don't think I'd be here.
That's absolutely fabulous. So that's your second point, that second advice,
Yeah.
or you say second mantra, you could say,
Mantra. Yes.
that celebrate your uniqueness. So each of you
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
out there, I'm sure
Hmm.
each of you have got something unique about you. Discover that, celebrate that, and if you
Yeah.
feel that you have something unique about you, type yes, so that yes, there is something unique about me. Type that, and we'll
Yeah.
come to know, and you'll also
Yes.
feel good. Like we said that self-esteem has to be pumped up over again. We have to change this tune, make a positive tune within our
Yes.
heart, our mind, our body all the time. When we do that, we feel good about ourselves. When we do that, and it reinforces our self-esteem. It's a step-by-step process. It has to be done daily, just as you brush your teeth and take your bath. So
Yeah.
that's what. Yes, Amrita says yes. Thank you. And I'm sure a
Hmm.
lot of you will also feel the same.
Yeah.
Great. Let's get on to your third point. What is your
Okay. The
third
third
point?
point I would like to say is accept yourself unconditionally. Don't keep saying, "Ki, I'm lacking here, I'm lacking there." So what if you're lacking? Accept yourself unconditionally. That's very, very crucial. because wherever there's anybody sees a chink in your armor, that's exactly where the attack goes, right? So, like they say, I think I heard one of my colleagues was sharing this story. The Great Wall of China was built to keep the invaders at bay, but there was a chink in their armor, and that nobody had looked into. And that was just the gatekeeper or whoever was there, the soldier who was supposed to be guarding the gates. And because morals were wherever they were able to bribe him, and the enemy came right through the doors, right? So the chink in the armor is what will actually, pump, or rather, pump a hole into the balloon, like a needle poking the balloon and the air keeps going out. So never have a chink in your armor. Accept yourself wholeheartedly and unconditionally. Okay, fine, I'm not good in maths. That's my weakness. Celebrate your weakness. I don't know maths, but I know this. Suppose somebody says, you know what, I'm academically not good in any of the subjects, which is also perfectly fine, because maybe you're better off in something else, maybe creative arts, or maybe some performing arts. It could be anything. So there's, like I said, everybody is born with some skill, some talent. Celebrate that. Accept yourself unapologetically and unconditionally. That is the third thing.
Great. So accepting ourselves means I accept myself the way I am,
The way I
including
am.
my height, my weight, whatever I am,
Yes.
my hair or lack of it. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay, whether you are North Indian, South Indian, East Indian, once we accept
Yeah.
ourselves, nobody can touch our
Yes.
self-confidence and esteem. It's only
Yes.
when we are not sure of ourselves, there's a time then we become vulnerable to people, taking saying
Yeah.
things from
So the
outside.
chinks in the armor, so never have the chinks in your armor. So that's what
Okay,
it
we
is.
have a question from Rajnikant who had posted a question earlier. That what is
Mm-hmm.
the best suggestion for people to come out of stress and frustration to manage both work life and personal life balance? Maybe
I,
we'll just finish with the
yeah,
your
I think
to the
we'll,
point, and
yeah.
we'll come to this question.
Yeah.
Rajni,
So
thank you for
Rajnikant,
asking
just
your question.
hang on till we come to your question, please.
Yeah, we'll
We'll,
just come to that question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All
So,
right.
what's your fourth point?
The fourth point, I'm just looking at, there are quite a few points that I have written on, but because we wanted to speak about only five, I think I'm going to say the fourth point should be celebrate your small wins. For example, I say this with experience in the sense, in one of my training programs, there was this 21-year-old boy. I'm training the engineering students, and 21-year-old boy who comes in because of some activities that we were doing and stuff. And I kept on telling him, wow, fantastic, and a lot of other things that I was saying. And during one of the breaks, he comes and he's actually in tears. Imagine a 21-year-old boy standing in front of you, towering over me, and he's crying. Actually, he's got tears running down his face, and says, till date, my parents have never appreciated me. That was such a sad thing to listen to, because he was such a talented guy. He was such an artistic guy, and he was all over the place. Maybe I don't know about the academics aspect, but he was, every activity that I did, he was there, and fantastic he could sing, he could dance, and he was a beautiful artist. He just standing there, within 10 seconds he just drew something and it turned out to be so beautiful. And this boy stands and tells me, I've never been appreciated by my parents in my life. This is the first time somebody said something nice. So we just had to probe a bit, because I felt bad. So I asked him why he says that. He says, see, I used to get an average of 60-65%. Every time I went to my parents with my report card, they'd say, what did that XYZ person get? And my bad luck that if I got 60-65, that fellow invariably got a 70%. And then I would go back home and they'd say, if he could get 70, why could you not get? So the next time, next exams, I really worked harder and harder and harder and reached 70. Unfortunately, that fellow got a 73 or a 78, or I don't remember the number. Again, the same thing. So he says, my whole life has been about keeping up with somebody and, them being ahead of me constantly. And as a result of that, my parents never appreciated that. So here the thing is, a child who's getting only 60 or 65% at an average, if he's progressed till 70, that's something to appreciate, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a small victory, obviously, for the child as well as for you as parents who wanted your child to do better. And then these kind of small victories, even if nobody else is celebrating, you celebrate your victories. That should
That's
be the
great.
constant thing. I have
That's
done
great.
better. You know for yourself how much you slog to get those extra 3 or
Right.
4 or 5%.
Right.
So
Right.
celebrate your victories. So that should be the
And
fourth mantra. Celebrate your
so
victories.
so this is more, I would say, celebrate your
Hmm.
victories for the students, of course. And I
Yeah.
think this is a special call for parents. We are always looking for better and better performance, which is fine. But I
Yes.
believe that appreciating a child's effort, appreciating a milestone, whatever the child has done, once the child comes back from exam, for example, don't pull out the paper and start saying, oh, why you missed this question. It's over. It's over. Give him a pat on the back, look ahead, right? So saying things like, oh, you are useless at this. That's not the right way.
Yes.
What you need to say is, okay, you performance in math was, let's say, not up to your expectation. Fine, let's find a way to do it. So let's find a way. That means it's teamwork. The parent and child is a team. You are a part of the team. Don't make it like he's different and you are different, and it's not my baby.
Yeah.
So if you're poor at math, somebody starts saying, "Oh my, your mother or father or grandfather are also poor at math, so
Yeah.
therefore it's in the genes," something like that.
Yes.
We keep
Yes.
trying to blame, uh, and the point which you brought out was, I think, very very important, that what a child doesn't get at home, he may not get it anywhere else. And he's like that thirsty crows, going around trying to search all over the world for that appreciation. He never gets it. And
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
found hope in you when you appreciated him. Appreciation is really the key which drives a person's
Yes.
self-confidence, esteem. And
I think
appreciation is,
as
I think,
parents,
oxygen.
Riaz,
Yeah,
I think what we should be telling our children is that they are loved unconditionally,
absolutely.
irrespective of what and how and why. They are loved unconditionally.
Absolutely.
So this particular child I was talking about, the 21-year-old boy, I told him, look, your parents, they want the best for you. They want you to do better. That's the only way, that's the only reason why they keep on doing this. He says, ma'am, but that's fine, but I've slogged it out. Why are they not saying anything good about it? Till date, they haven't said. And he's already in the third year of engineering. And he says, till date, I've never heard anything positive coming from them. So one thing that even the
True.
children must understand is that the parents have the best interest at heart. They're not enemies.
True.
It's
True.
just that, like I had used the word, they're also victims of their own upbringing. Their parents have spoken like that. So that's what they
Right.
keep on
Right.
saying because they don't know any better. They think that's the only
Very
way to,
true.
make you feel better, make you perform better or do better. So
Right.
have a
True.
little empathy for the parents as well. That's, I think,
True.
although we're
True.
talking about students, the children also need to have a little empathy for the parents.
Absolutely. We need to understand each other.
Yes.
There's another point that we need to break the chain. So earlier, I remember the parenting style was different, right? And we
Yes.
were not so sensitive. But
Yes.
children these days are more sensitive,
Yeah.
and they're different. So we
Yeah.
need to break the chain that my father brought me up in this way. So it's not necessary that I should do the same. And definitely,
Yeah.
constant criticism brings a person's self-esteem down, and the appreciation at the right moment brings his self-esteem up. And it's a constant
Absolutely.
process,
Yeah.
like it's a plant which is growing in your house. You can't keep pulling the plant and saying grow faster. The nature has its own
Yes.
time.
And sometimes,
Right.
the child just happens to be a bamboo shoot. For 5 years,
Right.
the bamboo shoot doesn't even grow a millimeter. And then
Yeah,
after 5 years, immediately, like overnight, it goes off into
absolutely.
2, 3 meters,
Absolutely,
tall.
absolutely
So
agree.
sometimes a child could be the bamboo shoot. You never know. So don't just, write them off because they did not get certain marks or, were not good enough in dancing, whereas the neighbor's child did it or whatever. So I
True.
think as parents, we need to appreciate our children for what they are. And like I
Very
always
true.
keep on saying, we are the ones who brought the children into the world. It was your decision. The child did not want to be born. So when we decided to have the child, I think it's our responsibility to accept the child for who he or she is
Unconditionally.
unconditionally. Absolutely.
And we have an interesting comment here. The way we treat others, unknowingly we treat ourselves in the same manner. When we accept others unconditionally, appreciate their qualities, we start loving ourselves too.
Absolutely. You mirror it. Either you are mirroring yourself in your own, what you're doing, or you're mirroring what others are saying about you. So the choice is
Fantastic.
in your hands, actually. But what Seema says is right. You
So,
know,
I remember a Hindi saying, it says, "Man changa to katoti mein Ganga,"
huh?
right? So everything starts from
Yes,
our mind, and that's where we need to
yes,
constantly work on. Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
we've reached the fourth. Let's come out with your. Fifth
I think
secret.
the fifth secret is don't look. This is actually an extension of possibly the all the others that I have said already. Don't look for external validation. Nobody knows you better than yourself. And unfortunately, the way things are right now, we're constantly looking for external validation. Oh, yes, you are good enough. Oh, yes, you're good enough. Ha, you're like that. Oh, wow, you got such a huge car. Oh, wow, you live here. So things have become very, external right now, external centric. So I would say look within. Do not look for external validation. Go back to yourself, the mirror work and your affirmation, positive affirmations about yourself. Go back to feeling good about yourself, your talent, celebrate your small victories, and then you celebrate who you are as a person. Accept yourself unconditionally, and do not look for external validation, because the day you start doing that is the day that you'll never get it. Believe me, you'll
Right.
never get it.
Right. So this external validation, like you said about, let's say, car. So I think this is very common issue these days. That only if you have an iPhone or the costliest version of the what is that, S series, A series, C series.
I have
You
no
know.
clue what series, yes, but yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah,
that
anything
actually.
external, anything material. I think I don't know where we're all going as a society, but because we seem to be defined by all these things that we possess,
Absolutely. That's what they're telling us all the
not
time.
for who we are. Yeah.
So when you have
Yes.
let's say, the latest version 6, and your self-esteem or maybe temporarily shoots up,
Yes.
but it shoots up only till the time the version 7 comes into the market, and usually comes out
Yes.
within 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, you're
Yeah.
feeling good. Oh, I got this. And you're showing off to your friends
Yeah.
and everybody. And by the next 21 days, you're down because somebody will pull out his version 7 and show that I got the
Yeah.
latest version, yours is outdated. So
Absolutely.
when we associate our self-esteem and self-belief with the stuff outside, it really we are putting ourselves into a vulnerable position. So we need
Right.
to really be strong, be feel good about ourselves.
You need
That
to be
never mind.
grounded. You
You
need
can
to be
tell
grounded,
somebody
Riaz.
shows that. Somebody shows that.
Hmm.
You can say that. Okay, your phone also does the same work. Mine also does the same work. I
Yeah.
myself have
Yeah.
got I think a 3-year-old phone, which is quite old as per the current standard,
I know.
and
As
it
per
works best.
society standards, you're like
As the
using a
society
dabba phone.
standard works best. I can still take pictures of the trees
Yeah.
and my cats around, and it works
Right.
perfectly fine. And people who love me still connect to me, and they'll love you and
Uh,
connect to you even if you have a Nokia or the the standard phone. And if
yeah.
people don't like you, if you don't have friends, even if you have the latest of the stuff, you will not be able to. So the
Yeah.
key issue here is that don't associate your
No,
self worth.
any of your material possessions, they should not define who you are.
Absolutely.
What you
Don't.
are as an inherent, your inherent characteristics, that should define who you are, and not all the material things that you possess. The moment that
Absolutely.
happens, like you said, there's always a newer version coming in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And every time a new version comes, your confidence
Yeah.
may drop. Don't
Yes.
connect to
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Right. We have, I think, touched upon 5 wonderful points. Is there any bonus point you would like to add? Or either the
You're a
simple
greedy man, are you not? You're a greedy man. Okay, this is something actually, even if you had not asked, I would have still mentioned it. Now, the thing is, unfortunately for us, and I'm not talking about, when I say us, I'm not talking about just within our country, but wherever in the world you look, people are always there to tell you why you're not good enough.
Okay.
Very rarely people will celebrate you as a person or your achievements. There'll always be more people telling you why you're not good enough or what's lacking in you. So I always say, use your discretion. Negative, let the negativity keep coming in. Okay, I'll give you an example for this, how you can maybe you will be able to get some insight onto this.
Right.
Suppose if you have a ball in your hand and you hit it against the glass, what do you
Right.
think will happen? Like maybe a window pane or a looking mirror or something, you hit
Obviously,
the
it will
ball
break.
against it, what?
Yeah, it will break.
It
That's
will
what we
break.
do as a children, playing cricket in the street, and
Yeah,
the
घर
ball
पे मत खेलो, कुछ टूट
neighbors
जाएगा
window,
फूट
or
जाएगा
we'll
and
come
all that.
into our
Yeah.
own window.
Yes. So that's what will happen to the glass pane. But the same ball, if you're going to be hitting it at the curtain or the drapes in your house, you've got all beautiful color looking drapes behind you. So
Yes.
assuming you're hitting the ball against the drapes, what will happen?
The drape will just bend a little, and the ball will fall down.
absolutely. The drape will just flutter a bit where the ball had hit it, and the ball slides down.
Yes.
And the same ball, if you were to hit it against a wall, what will happen?
Nothing will happen to the wall. The ball will just go back to wherever it was
Yeah,
thrown.
absolutely. Like I said, I'm not good at maths and physics and all that, but I think my vague understanding is that whatever force that you hit it against the wall, it comes back double the impact onto you. I don't
Right.
know. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you know, but
Absolutely right.
my knowledge is pretty basic in that. So now the choice is ours. Like I said, use your discretion, right? Do you want to be like the window pane that gets shattered by any one negative word that comes to you? Do you want to be like the drape which says, okay, I did feel hurt, but let me think about it. Is there any truth to what the person is saying? And then I'll use my discretion to believe it or not believe it. And then there's the wall. Now, this wall, who are you to tell me? You think I'm not good enough? What are you good enough? Tell me. That's a more aggressive posture, right?
Yes.
So, idea is to not either be the wall or not to be the glass pane. Be like the curtain. Use your discretion. If somebody's saying or giving feedback or telling you something about where you're lacking or where you need to improve, use your discretion. Think about it. Take a moment. And as a human being, our instant reaction is, how dare you? Or no, of course, I'm not like that, which is perfectly fine. But at least take a moment to think about it. Why is that person saying it? Is there any truth to what they're saying? And if there is truth, try working on it. Go back to your mirror work and your positive affirmations and the other things that we've spoken about. If there is no truth at all, they're just saying it out of, I don't know, maybe some bit of jealousy or envy or just for the heck of it, ignore them. So that's another
Right.
thing. Don't look for your external validation. And at the same time, use your discretion when somebody's saying something negative about you.
That's very interesting. So, discretion, let me put it in the language of students out there, is a filter. It's
Yes,
simpler. Like
absolutely. It's a filter.
the chai ki channi,
Yes.
filter. Okay.
Filter
So,
coffee.
whatever is
Yes.
coming towards you, if it is good,
Take the
you
best of
don't,
it. Yes. Yes.
if it is good, you don't need to filter. Let it come. Somebody is
Yes.
saying you're amazing, say, okay, I'm amazing.
Of course I
Right?
am. But don't make it so much I
Yeah.
am so amazing that nobody's good enough.
Okay. And somebody says things, it could be anyone, your friends, your cousins, your siblings, parents, teachers. Give it a thought. That's what I feel.
Yes.
That maybe there's something interesting in that, something useful. Filter it.
Yeah.
Pick out the something useful in that, because everybody may not be so evolved to be always going by the book. Everybody may not be reading the habits of highly effective people and how to
Yeah.
win friends and influence people. They may not be reading those books and giving you the best advice in the best with the best possible words. That's okay. You have
Yeah.
to accept
True.
the world the way it is. But
Yes.
many times I feel that we can absorb something interesting which is coming our way, but
Yeah.
filter it. Something good, absorb. Something
Yeah.
not so good, just let it. Chai ki channi ko, just wash it, and
Yes.
it's.
And you're ready. Yes.
That's how I think we can just make our way in the world. Because if we
Yeah.
keep accepting every thing which is coming to us, we may actually feel. And one interesting point when you gave this comparison of the wall, the glass, or the let's say the
Curtains.
curtain.
Yeah.
So the best part is the ball is the same. So the words may be the same, but to
Yeah.
somebody who is very very fragile,
Hmm.
he may just collapse at or break down at every
Yes.
statement that comes to us.
Yes.
So the issue is
Yes.
not the ball. The issue is what are you made of? Are you made of steel? Are you made of cloth? Are you made of concrete? Or are you made of
Yes.
glass? That's why we
Yeah.
need to work. We can't change the world,
Yeah.
but we can change
Yes.
ourselves. That's where the real challenge is. I think
Yeah.
evolution.
We need to fortify ourselves. It's like
Absolutely,
a vitamin supplement for yourself.
absolutely.
Okay.
And this is the
I'm
best
going
part,
to.
right? You've given us 6 vitamins today, and we are moving towards it. It's 7:53, and we should not
Right.
drag this too long. Otherwise, people
Right.
will get up and bored and go, right? So before they go, we want
Yeah.
to catch hold of them and interact with them.
Yeah.
We had questions, so let me flash that on the screen.
Uh-huh.
And anything else we would like to add, we can add. But let's take on these questions.
Yeah.
That's a question from Rajnikant. Says, what's your best suggestion for the people to come out of stress and frustration to manage both work life and personal life and balance? I think it's more related to the current times.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. So
So
I
what would
would definitely not have too much of yarn to give on this right now because I think what we are talking about is entirely different. So stress, self-esteem, interlinked. That's what we're talking about. So to how do you balance it? I will just give a off-the-cuff answer to that.
It may
Maybe
be relevant.
Rishikant will.
The question may be relevant to the even the young crowd out there. So I think what he's
Yeah,
trying to say
yeah.
is that in these changing or very dynamically difficult times, how do you
Hmm.
balance? How do you take care
See,
of
I
the
think
stress? Like,
mutual respect is very, very crucial, Riaz, especially in the personal space. See, for example, when we're in the professional sphere, we work with some sort of protocol. When I say protocol, I'm not saying, you stand up and you salute and not that kind of a protocol. Maybe that may not be the most appropriate word, but we work within the framework. There's a certain framework for, which is defined for your professional life in the office. Even if you're getting angry, you don't kind of yell and scream, and you have to be in control of things, your emotions, and you can't have emotional outbursts. There's so many things that we follow. And but then when we come back home, we totally go 180 degrees. We're at a tangent. We believe that we can throw tantrums, we can throw things also for that matter, we can be nasty and still get away with it. We take it very, very, the personal life as to be we take it for granted. So the day we realize that, we need to have mutual respect even at home. I'm not saying ki, sometimes in our society, there are times when I've had women coming and saying, I'm trying to tell him something, he doesn't listen. He says, just get away. I'm on my call, or, don't you know how much I work and stuff like that. Similarly, when the man says, I go home and I'm telling her this, and she doesn't even bother to listen because she's got her own rant coming. And yeah, we have to look at both the perspectives. I would say give each other mutual respect for the kind of situation or the kind of a role that you're performing. If you're a
right,
homemaker, believe me, there are hazard different things that you need to take care of. Everybody thinks the homemaker just sits at home and twiddles her thumb and watches some soap operas on TV. But everything needs to be synchronized, and things need to be in order for everybody to go outside and in the professional world, be productive. If things are
right,
going haywire at home, you can't, right? So appreciate that person for what they're doing. And today we have both the husband and the wife working. At the same time, the wife is expected to do a lot more than what she's just doing at the workplace. So a little bit of understanding and a mutual respect. The day that mutual respect is there, I think both the things get sorted out.
right.
The whatever, the balance automatically will happen.
Right. So some aspect about maybe the stress of the current time. I would just like to say that we have to accept one of the aspects of acceptance is that we don't keep looking forward to when will this end, when will this end. We don't
Hmm.
know. Best is make the best of it. If we have a
Yes.
today, let's make the best of it. Let's see what beautiful things we are allowed to do, and
Yeah.
that's how we just keep moving forward. Take a day at a time. Breathe, smile, enjoy, do the best you can.
Absolutely.
Keep yourself
Yeah.
fit, keep yourself happy, keep yourself learning. We got a wonderful opportunity of learning and sharing what
Yes.
we are doing right now. So let's.
In fact,
I
I've been very happy during the lockdown and all the COVID associated time, because it's given me a breather. Okay, now I'm exploring so many things which I had never had. I thought I never had the time for. So I'm pursuing a little bit of quasi spiritualism because I'm not ready yet for completely getting into that path.
we
I'm
don't want you
exploring
to do the
that. Some
Himalayas yet.
not yet.
Yes, not
So
yet.
I'm exploring a little bit of that. I'm learning a few other things, some painting and certain things that I had wanted to
Right.
do, but I hadn't been doing. So explore that.
Great. Great.
It'll make
So
you
we have
also
a
feel good.
few more points from Pooja says appreciating kids for small victories helps them build self-esteem.
Absolutely,
Very
Pooja.
true.
You're completely right.
Very
Yes.
true. And we have a comment
I will tell you
from
one example. My child, when he was younger, he was in his nursery and prep. He used to come back, and sports day is a big event and everything. He'd say, "Mom, I almost came first, but somehow I didn't." The fact that the child is so excited that he could have come first, that's perfectly fine. So what?
absolutely,
That does, it's not like the child has to go and get himself a Olympic gold medal or something.
absolutely. No,
It's
Olympics
perfectly
has got
fine.
silver and bronze medal also.
Yes.
There's absolutely no problem.
So
So what?
celebrate their victory. In his head, he's a victor. He
Absolutely,
almost came first. That itself is a victory for him. So celebrate that.
absolutely.
Till date,
Yeah.
we joke about it, but that's so what.
So there's one more comment from Mr. Ratan Rao. We need to understand that we have limited shelf life. Okay.
Hmm.
Live the moment, realize time is slipping by. Love every moment. Be with
Yes,
the loved ones. Right. So that's love
absolutely.
every
Yeah.
moment and love everybody. I think that's a great
Yeah.
message. So
Yes.
let's take any other questions from our wonderful audience which is out there. We have lots of people. Please post your questions. And Bharti says, that's so true about feeling good and material position. Absolutely. We agree with you.
Yeah.
Very nice.
True.
And that's a lovely picture of Bharti, maybe from a younger days,
Yeah.
still young
Yes.
though.
Hey,
So
I've
any
known her
questions
since
from
her
our
younger
audience?
days.
Any questions from our audience? Anything you'd like to add, ask, say, suggest? Feel free. This is
Yes,
your,
absolutely.
because if you got some wonderful idea out there, share it. So we'll also learn and we can pass it on. We can include it in this session itself,
Yeah.
and we can also, and especially the students who are out
And
there.
there's no right or wrong. Everybody's
Absolutely.
perception. So there's nothing wrong. Everything is right.
Any questions? Please post on the chat box. Any suggestions you have? Please post.
Any observations?
Any observation? Especially the students out there.
Yes.
Okay, it seems that all of them are really charged up and gained a lot from this session. And
Yeah.
if we
I
still
hope they
get,
were all running to go there and do their mirror work right now.
yeah, that's important. In fact, you don't have to wait till tomorrow morning. You can
Yeah,
today
absolutely.
evening itself. If
Yes.
you feel that there's something interesting, go to your mirror, and you may not. Yeah, you do brush your teeth at night also, so you can do the mirror work before sleeping also. You'll get a nice sleep. So stand in front of the
Yeah.
mirror and say that, hey, I'm amazing, you cool guy. Just do that and you'll see the difference, because the chatter in our mind has to be positive, the tuning of our mind has to be positive. We keep telling ourselves amazing. And
Yeah.
Jamila Khan from Delhi says that good show.
Nice.
All right,
So Riyaz, you
thank you
have
for
a
that.
fan. Wonderful.
Thank you for that. And so what's your final message before we close, Suma?
Again, I'd reiterate the same points. Once again, mirror work and positive affirmations. Love yourself, accept yourself unconditionally, and do not be judgmental about anything. More importantly, do not look for external validation, because you are your best version and you keep on improving yourself. That should be the spirit. And always use your discretion when somebody is saying something negative. Do not just take it at face value. Just because somebody says you're a donkey, you don't become one. You have to understand, do I look like a donkey? No. Do I behave like a donkey? No. Do I have four legs like a donkey? No. Then how am I a
No.
donkey? So use your
Yeah, I have an
discretion.
Aadhaar card and a birth certificate to prove that I am a human being.
Wonderful. I'm sure with Aadhaar being mandatory in our country, everybody has that proof. So
Yes, absolutely. So
all the
anybody
more
calls
reason
you a
not to
donkey or a
believe it.
monkey, or
And
everybody
kaisa
calls you a
gada hai.
donkey or a monkey,
You're
just
such a gada. That's
uh,
what I think most of us grew up listening.
yes,
Kaisa
yes.
gada hai, kaisi gadi
Yeah.
hai. So we're
I
not.
know, I know. We are
So
not, we are
Aadhaar
not,
card. Next
definitely.
time somebody says anything, Aadhaar card, male or
Yeah,
female, definitely
they
not
couldn't have
donkey.
been here on Facebook Live if it was so. Right.
True.
So, to
Yeah.
that wonderful crowd we have out there, so I would just like to say that please visit our page. This is
Yes.
UnBox YEI, and post your comments there about the show, what you liked, any feedback you have. Plus, also you can also post what topics would you like us to cover in the future sessions, so that we
Yes.
can also include that in the sessions that we have. And we are going to be
Yeah.
here next week, that is Wednesday, with another very, very interesting topic, which we are going to declare tomorrow or day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we love to see you there. We'll also be live on YouTube next week onwards. So if not on Facebook Live, you can also watch us on YouTube. So
Yeah.
that's it for
And
now.
one more thing, Riyaz, I think before we sign off, one thing is, see, not everybody might come up with questions while the program is happening. If they have
Right.
any other
Okay.
questions,
Yes.
if they turn
Yes.
up, sometimes we tend to go back and rewind the conversations and all that.
Yes.
If they have any questions, they can always post in our page. We'll always get back to
Absolutely.
them. We'll always
Absolutely.
get back to them.
So
And
we
if
are
we
going
do
to
not
close
have the
now.
answers, we'll help them get the answers.
Absolutely, yeah. So post your questions or queries on the page.
Yes, please.
We'll connect to you. And of course, if any of the students out there is feeling stressed, depressed, try to use these methods which we have talked about and give us feedback. And still, if you feel that there is something which is really, really troubling you a lot, please reach out to somebody, take help, talk to someone. Don't let the problems fester inside you. Reach out, talk to someone. There are many, many helplines also.
Yes.
You can do a
Yes.
chat also. Don't keep problems in your heart and mind. Just share and find someone who can listen to you. That's our closing
And
message.
yeah, and there's no shame in seeking help.
Yes,
It's
I agree.
perfectly fine. It's
I
wonderful
agree.
to go ahead, and
I
it's
agree.
the most courageous thing to do, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So be confident. Thank you, Suma, for being here, and we loved your talk. And I'm
Thank you,
sure everybody
Riaz.
is going to
Thank you so much for
benefit.
having me on the show.
Thank
And I
you.
feel really
So
privileged to be here and sharing my views. Thank you very, very much.
fantastic, great advice. So be confident, be happy, be cheerful, and be stress-free, and keep moving ahead. Take on the challenges of life. Don't say why me. Say try me. With that,
Oh,
come to the
wonderful.
end.
Yes.
Good night. Have a nice day, and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Bye bye.